Hiya. Today I'm going to do a really simple, quite plummy, smoky eye look, and I'm just going to leave the rest of my base quite fresh, I think. So I'm going to start with some CC cream all over, and essentially what I like to do is just get my base on first, because don't get me wrong, if I was going for a really heavy smoky eye, I might do the eyeshadow first and then tidy up any drop down and carry on. But because I've got a little bit more redness than usual today, I kind of like to neutralise that, and then it's not distracting me when I'm doing my eye makeup. Because I think I've said this before, that sometimes your eye makeup can feel quite heavy or quite out of sorts when you put it on a face with no other makeup on. Whereas when you put it in the full context of your foundation and your blush and whatever else you might be using on the complexion, it can often feel much softer. Now, interestingly, I've got the ring light on again today, by the way, because it's so dark outside. And I always like to mention that because it doesn't give you a really true picture of what this looks like in real life, because you have that harshness on it. I almost feel like it's a bit more flattering actually. It blurs out the redness that bit more quickly. But I have used like half a pump there, and that's really covered everything. Now, if you had a bit more texture perhaps, I know I find that on my own skin, you might want to use a little bit more. But if it's just that flushing, keep a nice sheer layer. You might just want to pat in a little bit more over those areas of redness, and then leave it as fresh as possible, really. Just to say, I'm using the Star Brush today. Someone asked me the other day if we still have this, and it's on Cult Beauty. So if you've been looking for this one, it's one of the limited edition ones from it. You can find it over on Cult. It's in a little bundle actually with this CC cream and a couple of travel sizes, so it's a nice little set. Okay, so I'm going to quickly seal all of this in with a bit of setting powder, and then the palette I'm going to use today, I really want to show you actually. It's let me get the name of it. It's the Stoned palette from Urban Decay. Now, it's interesting when you look at it in the palette, it's quite difficult to gauge what the colours are actually going to look like once you've had a play. And I've tried it a couple of times, not in videos, just, you know, around the house. Or that's the great thing about this time. We've kind of got a bit more time to experiment with things without you're not wearing it to an event or something. Do you know what I mean? So it's a really good time if you've got anything at home that you're curious about to have a little play with. But basically, this is the palette. You might have seen it because I've seen loads of people doing videos and things on it. But if I show you up close, see how the glitters are kind of multicoloured? And I was thinking, I wonder what they're going to come out like. But if you use your finger to just pack the colour on, it comes out in these really soft shimmery colours, which it looks a bit more multi-toned in the palette, but then the finish is much softer and much more wearable. So I'm going to start with a mixture. There's 4 mattes on the ends, which are really good for kind of framing your eye. I'm going to use a little bit of these 2 mattes and start to trace a bit of an outline for myself. Now, I do have bronzer to hand as well, and you know me, if I ever get a bit confused about which colours I'm going to put where, I tend to just soften everything out with a bit of bronzer. But as a general rule, I do think it's great to kind of start with something matte through your sockets to just set the pace of where you're going to go with your colours, and then you can add your shimmers everywhere else. And actually, another great tip, considering that I have done my base first, is that it's going to be really helpful to press those shimmer colours on with your finger, because that way you can really pack that colour on and get, you know, if you pick glitters up with a brush, sometimes they can go everywhere. Whereas if you've pressed it down firmly with your finger, you've just got a nice soft layer that you have complete control of. But anyway, before I jump forward a few steps, what I'm focusing on first, I know this looks a bit messy, but give me a moment and it will all soften itself out. I'm getting this matte colour pretty much right the way over, to be honest, but in particular paying attention to this socket. And when I've got less product on the brush, I'm just going to make sure that I've really softened any harsh edges. I used kind of plum-ish colours yesterday, and I forgot how much they really make your eyes pop and pull everything together. So this morning when I was going to see what I was going to use, I thought, yeah, I'm going in with something warm again. Okay, I'm taking the same shade. This is called Hexed, by the way. Just to recap, it's this one I'm going in with. It's more of a maroony brown. Taking a bit of Hexed under this waterline, and I'm going to put a maroony colour through that waterline as well. Now, one thing I will say, I'm not taking that lower colour all the way across this morning. I'm just taking it about halfway across. The reason being, I've got quite a deep line under both of my eyes, and once I go further than that, the colour seeps into that line, and like, in order for it not to spill, I have to do a lower lash line of about 1/2 centimetre. That's no exaggeration. So again, I just think it's really great the more we experiment and wear our makeup and try different colours and placements, you kind of get to know your own eyes and what's going to work for you. I'm just thinking out loud here. What I'm actually going to do is take a bit of this in the inner and outer corners and make it a little bit more of a spotlight finish. So let's deepen everything up. This tiny little pencil brush is great for just adding those little accents. And then I'm going to look forward on and take a little bit, as my friend Kate would say, around the corners. Oh, I'm just doing a video, Dad. Anyway, do you know what is so funny? Like, the cat's woken up now because she's seen Dad. Like, there's a whole ricochet of people that will come now. Watch, the doorbell will go, the postman will come, it'll be everything. But anyway, going around these corners. And then I'm just going to soften that out using a blending brush. I'm picking up a tiny bit more of that matte colour just to soften that edge and make it so that you've got a bit of like blend, full apart, blend again. And I'm going to do the same very gently in this inner corner. That's more than enough. Okay, so now I'm going to pick up on my ring finger some of this Meditate colour and really gently press this over some of that blanker part of the lid. And I think the nice thing with these kinds of eye makeups, it doesn't need to be absolutely neat. There we go. Love that. Okay, how much time have I got? I've got 5 minutes. Absolutely fab. Just going to tidy up, wiping everything off that I've been kind of playing with on the back of my hands, especially if you're using brighter colours and reds in particular. You do want to tidy up as you go along because you only need to do a bit of this and you've ruined the complexion. So nice clean hands as I go in to do everything else. I'm taking a little bit of this Trish McAvoy Brow Perfector through the brows on both sides. Now this is like a waxy pomade that gives you that kind of brushed natural brow finish, but also gives them a slight tint. So what I'm also going to do You don't have to do this, but I've got a spoolie to hand. I say that actually. Where is the spoolie I have to hand? That may have actually been a completely incorrect preempt there. By the looks of things, it was. Okay, well, never mind. I was going to say you could brush them through with a spoolie, but I think I spoke too soon. Pardon me. I'm going to take some nice maroon liner to finish those eyes. And actually, the fact that this is a kind of maroon colour is going to make up for the fact that I haven't taken that shadow all the way under the eye, because it'll all kind of merge together and you'll look like you've got the definition all the way across that lower line, but without the shadow seeping into my lines. There we go. Another tip with that glitter, if you put colours like that on top of a really dark base, they come out really strongly. So if you wanted to put on, like, you know, a dark brown, or, you know, anything that's quite dense in colour but deeper, that will show up and reflect the light so much more on a dark base. So you could always play with it and make it a little bit more smoky or a little bit more intense if you were to do that. No. Going through that hairline. And I'm taking this so gently on a fluffy brush because I don't want to lift up any of the coverage. You can already see actually I've gone a bit too harsh there, but who cares? I've learned the lesson and I won't do it next time. That's another good reason for always having a little play with whatever you have at home. You kind of learn the limits of what's going to work, what might, you know, lift, what might come off a bit more easily. Now, I'm going to take Jamie's Vive highlighter. This is the Bijou shade, on a little Daniel Sandler blush brush. And I'm just going to press this really gently along the high points of the cheeks. Tiny bit on a couple of parts of the nose. I'm going to take a smaller brush, little shadow brush, to take some underneath those brows. Literally the gentlest bit that you can barely see, to be honest, in the video, but as you know, walk through the day, the glow really comes off them. I'm going to remember to do some mascara today, which is more than I can say I did yesterday. And I'm going to look down into my mirror to just make sure I catch every single lash. I actually wished, you know what this would have been lovely with, is like a plummy mascara. I knew YSL do one, and it's that kind of maroon colour that, again, if you've got, I mean, any colour eye really, blue, green, brown, it's that tiny bit of warmth that just makes every eye colour pop. But it's still deep enough that you get all of the definition that you would want from your mascara. So yeah, if you do have one of those, give it a try with some of these warmer colours, and it will just make everything look really piercing. And then what kind of lip shall I do? I think I'm going to go for a red, because why not? Let me see what I've bought in. Got a nude here. I've got Sam Chapman's red. I'm going to do that. Have I got a red liner is the only problem? No, but never mind. I'm going to go in with Jamie's Vive liner and just give my lips a bit of definition. Now, I know this is a brown, but we're going to style it out. And then go in with Sam's red. And there we go. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll talk to you soon.